Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode here in NHL 23. So, in last episode, we started up the season simulation, and as you can see so far, we're 18, 14, and 3, which is a lot better than I expected, but we are going to be making some trades to send us back into rebuild territory. So, obviously, we're going to be trying to offload Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews both in this episode, both in separate trades, just to make our team as worse as possible, and we could go back into in a full-on rebuild and get ourselves some good prospects in the draft, some prospects via these trades, all that type of thing. But anyways, before we get into that, we do have quite a bit of comments and suggestions for those Toews trades and Kane trades. So the first one is from Hockey Guy 88. He says, you're definitely going to have to do separate trades for both Kane and Toews. For Kane, I would try and pick a team you could see missing the playoffs next year so you could get their first round pick while the value is still low, and also possibly get a good prospect in the process. For Toews, I think you might be able to get a decent prospect, and I would also pick one of the trades you got offered for Domi. So trading Domi would be another one of these things because he's also signed only for 1 year, and then he's a UFA, so it kind of makes sense for us to trade him while we can as well. So Domi, Kane, and Toews, so 3 players in our top 6 are all going to be probably gone by the end of this episode, which is going to be kind of crazy. All on separate different deals as well, and hopefully they all help us out in terms of rebuilding. The next couple comments are from Rebecca Weiss-Woods, which says, Minnesota trades where they offered a 3rd for Blackwell and a 7th is a great trade, so we might end up doing what was suggested in that one trade suggestion. You could change the year for the 3rd to this draft and to see if it goes through. When trading Kane and Toews, retain 50% on them as both their contracts expire this offseason, and it helps keep you above the cap floor. I would take picks and prospects for both, but I would trade them ASAP so you could tank. Also, the next portion of the comment says, you have to trade Kane and Toews in different deals. I wouldn't trade Jones so that you can keep his salary to keep you on the cap until you need the room. But that being said, could look at Jones for Norris trade, and when using Trade Finder, if nobody shows up right away, click the left bumper and usually options show up. I didn't realize about that. Let's actually test that out for a second. Let's go to find trade, and we will say Kane, and find trade. No, that still doesn't work. That's the exact same type of thing. Yeah, that's not work. Yeah, it doesn't work either. Huh. At least it doesn't work for Kane. For Toews, it does work for Toews here. I'm not accepting that deal though. Not taking Kevin Shattenkirk in a 3rd round pick. It's not really a lot for Toews. Interesting. In Domi, we have already all those other offers, so we'll look at some of those offers. The next comment is from Cam Popplestone. He says, maybe something to explore would be something like Kane at 50% retained to Colorado for Girard. Girard is still young and on a good contract for several years, so he's a guy that could be there for a better part of the decade, and given how deep Colorado is on defense, they would probably move some IRL potentially for Kane, which is true. So that might be honestly the move that we end up making, is bringing in Sam Girard and bolstering our defensive prospect pool in a sense, because he's only like 23 or 24, I think, so it would be nice, and he's also locked up for like 5 years, so definitely a trade we could make with Kane and going to Colorado. And the last and final comment is from Pens Gaming 7. He says, trading Toews and Kane should be based off their real life rumors, not in game. I'd say the following teams are interested for Kane: Buffalo, Edmonton, Colorado, and the Rangers. All rumored to be in on Kane, and all contenders expect for Buffalo. In terms of Toews, there hasn't been much other than Colorado, but I would say Winnipeg because that's his hometown team. We'll look and see if we could trade Toews to like not to Colorado, to Winnipeg, that type of thing, to see if we could find out some deals. So let's get into those trades first before we actually get closer to the trade deadline. I think I do have a move in mind for Patrick Kane, which is the one that was suggested by Cam, which I think is going to be a really good trade for us, and it should work out for both teams. Even though they don't technically want Patrick Kane in this game, they probably do in real life. So as you can see, they're currently over the salary cap by like $4 million, which is not really a whole lot, but we're going to retain fully the 50% so we can make a blockbuster deal. And we are going to be taking back Sam Girard as part of this deal, because Sam Girard signed to a 5x5 deal. Should be pretty good for our defensive core for the future. And we'll retain 50% on Kane, which will get us a lot of other good stuff in this trade as well. Or it should, because I was looking at some potential trades, and it looks like we could add quite a bit to this when we retain 50% for the year. So So 50% retained, we get Sam Girard as part of that. And then we also could get back, if we go to skaters matching block, we could get Oscar Olsson, which is definitely what I'm going to do. Top 6 forward prospect. So that gives us a prospect. We gets us a currently good defender. And we could still add more to that as well. They don't want to give up their first round picks for this year and for next year, but those are both on the block. And it still should make this deal somewhat fair. So I think we might do this. So Girard, Olsson for two first-round picks for Kane, but we could try and add something else. Let's see if we could squeeze in a second, just to see if we could fleece Colorado as much as possible. Hopefully, Colorado is able to re-sign him. I don't think they'll be able to, but this gives us a lot of good players for the future. Like at least Girard should be here for quite a long time. He's already a top 4 defenseman. We get Olsson, who should be good for years to come, and maybe some really good players with these draft picks. So I think this is a good no-brainer if Colorado is to accept us. So let's see if this goes through. And that's accepted. Wow. Wow, we could have got maybe 3 first-round picks instead of a second in that one. But there's a blockbuster trade. Patrick Kane has been dealt to the Colorado Avalanche for a slew of things. And now we got Sam Girard in our lineup, which is interesting. So I think that was a good move. Definitely improves our defensive core for the future. Do we got any forwards I could put up here on the top line for now? Olsson needs to get sent back down because I don't want to play Olsson right out of the gate. Let's put Radish on the top line since he's actually been doing pretty well this season. So let's go to roster moves here. And we'll send Oscar Olsson down to the AHL. Lucas Reichel is actually up to an 80 overall, so we might have to call him up after we make a couple trades. Like if we get rid of Taze, I think Reichel should be playing in our lineup. Let's go to right wingers, and we will send it down. Actually, it's not a right winger. He's a centerman or a left winger? Left winger. We'll send down Oscar Olsson. Let him play down there in the minors. I know he's going to lose morale, but he needs to play down there for a little bit till he gets some more growth. He should be in the lineup now, more than likely. So there you go on that front. And that is good and set up, I think. We'll take also Jack Johnson out of the lineup for now, because we could always trade away Jack Johnson. But Sam Girard is now in our lineup, which is exciting to see. Hopefully he could be pretty good here in the future. Now it's all about trading away Taze and Kane, which I have not scouted out yet. We are actually right near the cap minimum. The cap minimum, I don't know what it is, but we're pretty low on cap, so we might have to continue retaining. Well, we definitely will continue to retain on Taze and stuff, but let's try and get rid of Taze now. So let's send him to Winnipeg if we can. But Kane is gone. Colorado should win the Stanley Cup this year. If they don't, then that is kind of weird. So Winnipeg's not doing too well, so it doesn't kind of make sense, but that's the only other team that would make sense for him in real life, so that's what we're going to go off of. What do they got on their block that we could potentially trade for? Or young prospects that they probably have. Let's see. What could we get? Let's actually look at their centers right now. Pierre-Luc Dubois, maybe. I don't know. They make us too good right away. You should probably just trade for picks, to be honest. Let's see what we got here. Draft picks. They don't want to trade that first. We'll take next year's first. They might not be a good team next year, so we'll take next year's first. Actually, I don't think we'll be able to get next year's first. We retain 50% on this, so I don't think we're going to be able to get next year's first, just because Taze has like way lower value than Kane does. So we might be only able to get like a second round pick for Taze if we're going for draft picks. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work, unfortunately. We might have to do the route of taking like a second. Yeah, Taze has barely any value, so we'll try and take like a second and a third. Yeah, a second and a third for him, because I don't see Winnipeg moving any prospects, especially with how bad they're doing in this. But a second and a third for Taze. We'll see if they do that for 50% retained. So Jonathan Taze for a second and a third. Actually, let's try the first, just to try it out to see if it works. I don't think it will, but because that value's heavily in Winnipeg's favor. That's this year's first that I was trying to trade for. Want to look at next year's first. How about next year's first? Let's see what this does. It's rejected. Okay, yeah, we got to do the second and the third. I had to try it out first just to make sure we get full value. So a second and a third for Jonathan Toews. That's rejected as well. What about a second? Do you have any prospects I could take back in the AHL? Brad Lambert. Ooh, wait a second. Brad Lambert, huh? Maybe we could get Brad Lambert as part of this deal. That actually is interesting. I don't know if they would want to really give him up, but Toews for Lambert straight up, how about that? That would work. So Toews for Lambert. We have brought in Brad Lambert. I don't think Winnipeg would do that in real life, but we get ourselves a nice center prospect. And yeah, Jonathan Toews has gone to Winnipeg to eat up the rest of that contract that he's making. We will, let's see who's scratched. Yeah, I got to send down Brad Lambert for sure. Brad Lambert's not an NHL player at this stage. We'll put him in for a second though, just to make sure. There you go. Let's go the roster moves. We'll send him down, and we'll call up Lucas Reichel, who's probably had a good year down there in Rockford, my guess. And in Rockford, we'll get Brad Lambert. We'll be under the salary cap. Are you kidding me? That's not good. That's not good at all. Maybe I could call somebody else up from the minors as well. Oh, I forgot about this dumb stuff. Let's call up Vlasic as well. Yeah, there we go. I'll call up Vlasic as well, just because of the fact that would be under the salary cap. I don't think we're going to be able to trade away Domi now, to be honest. So there you go. Lucas Reichel is going to play second line time. We will move Kurashev up into the top 6. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Just to make sure top 6 is as good as possible still. And then Alex Vlasic will have to be scratched, I guess, for the rest of the season. Unless I could trade for... Actually, just trade for somebody making a bad cap hit, to be honest. Just for 1 year. Just to keep us afloat. And then I would be able to send Vlasic back down. Let's go best lines in Rockford. And Brad Lambert needs to be in the lineup because he's currently scratched. So... let's put him instead of... Wow, Evan Barrett was actually traded recently in real life, so... But I'm going to take out Seamus Malone. And we are going to put Brad Lambert in there. That should work. So yeah, Lambert's going to get the play with Olsen, which is nice. Let's actually move them up maybe into the top 6 a little bit. And we'll see how those guys do down there in the minors. And that's going to be our team for the rest of the season, I think, unless we find a way to trade Domi in and bring in a cap whale. But we're at $54 million in salary cap. So I don't really think there's any way we could trade him away, unfortunately. Because we are pretty tight on the cap, even with 50% retained in on Kane and Toews. Unless I was to just bring in, like, friggin' big-ass contract for 1 year. But... let's continue to simulate and see how this team does the rest of the way. We should lose a lot of games now after trading Kane and Toews. And yeah, hopefully this team ends up getting a top 5 pick in this year's draft. But those are 2 big trades for our organization. Those probably will be the only ones we make just because of the salary cap compliancy. But yeah, very excited to see what this team is going to be like in a few years. What was that thing notification about? Did I have to send... oh, I have to send somebody down, I guess. Can I send Vlasic down now? Nope, under the salary cap, okay. How about Philip Roos? Under the salary cap. Ross Johnson, or Reese Johnson. Nope. Let's just, let's get the game to do auto-fix roster. I don't know who they're going to send down. Oh, they send down Philip Roos still. Good. At least that settled it a little bit. I went best lines down there in the AHL. I didn't want to do that because that's going to scratch Brad Lambert more than likely. Let's go. I don't know if I need Kyra back in the lineup. Why did they move Tyler Johnson to the 4th line center? Jesus Christ, EA. You don't do that. And Caleb Jones is now scratched too. Oh, I got to take out Jack Johnson again for Caleb Jones. Yeah, best lines doesn't work all the time. Best lines is terrible sometimes. Let's go back here. Get Lambert back in. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now we should be okay to simulate the rest. Wow, we beat Colorado after trading Kane there. That is kind of weird. And we have 3 wins in our last 4 games. Can you guys stop winning games? Even without Kane and Taves, please. We do not want to be a playoff team. Not even close. And we're still winning some games, which is weird. I don't understand how this team could win without their 2 best players, but it is what it is. Let's continue to simulate up to a day before the deadline. And yeah, hopefully we're not a playoff team, because if we make the playoffs still without Kane and Taves, I am going to be kind of pissed off. Because we should be one of the worst teams in the league, but this game's simulating way too weird. Like, we shouldn't be getting all these extra frame points and stuff like that. Don't care about tenority that much, but we'll go replace player. Why are we winning so much games? 29, 27, and 5. We're not in a playoff spot, but still we are hurting our chances at the first overall pick, I think. 63 points. That's good that we're at least out of the playoffs. Domi's still leading us in points. I would love to trade him away, but we don't have the way to get rid of him without... I don't know what we could do in order to get back that cap space. We're actually now at 72 million, so we might actually be able to trade him away. Domi. Who won a Domi again? Actually, let's go to the trade finder and see if we could actually trade Domi still. Because I'd like to get rid of him while we have value, because, like I said, he's a pending UFA, so... what do we got? Connor Zary and a 2nd round pick. That might be the one we have to do. That's a really interesting one. Connor Zary's pretty decent, I'd say. Xavier Bourgault is also pretty good. Looking for like the youngest players of the bunch that they're offering us. A lot of these guys are older. Yeah, I think I might have to do this Connor Zary one. And let's see. It'd be league approved as well. Zary is a 75, 21-year-old. And he looks like he's going to be a good NHLer at some point. And we get a 2nd round pick. Let's do it. Max Domi to Calgary. And Connor Zary has joined the Chicago Blackhawks organization. We're going to send him down to the minors. And we will call up, I guess, Mr. Cini. I got to go. I'd be under the salary cap. God damn. Let's call up Sakura as well. Over the player limit. You got to be joking me. Do I got to call it Bode? Yeah, I got to call it Bode. But oh well. A lot of these guys, actually, yeah, Bone's not even in the Blackhawks organization either anymore, so. What do we got for scratched forwards? Reese Johnson. Let's just go best lines. And make sure it's set up properly. Yeah, that's okay. But still, I don't like having Vlasic scratched. Or Bode, or Caleb Jones should actually be dressed for sure. Over Jack Johnson. I don't know why this coach likes Jack Johnson so much, but apparently he does. Oh, it was something like this that we were doing, right? Yeah, it was that. Yeah, that should work out. Let's do it like that. Why not? And yeah, that's going to be our team for the rest of the season with Jason Dickinson as our top line center. Or we could go Tyler Johnson. Or we could put Reichel on the top line. You know what, let's put Reichel on the top line. He's actually been pretty decent so far. Get that guy as much growth as possible since he's only a low top 6. And then we got to get Connor Zary into the lineup as well. Let's just put in a random defenseman like this Watson guy. Actually, let's go best lines for a second again. God damn. This game is kind of annoying with it coming down to micromanagement sometimes. So Zary on the top line would make sense. We're taking out Cini. And we'll put in Brad Lambert. Looks like Olsen's getting a lot of growth, which is really good. And yeah, the rest of that will leave. So there you go. Lambert playing 2nd line center. Zary playing with Olsen. Let's see how those guys do. And that's going to be our last trade of the season. We offloaded all 3 players, and we brought in a lot of good prospects, I think, and some picks too. I think that was a really good few trades for us in this organization, getting rid of Kane, Taze, and Domi, who was playing as a really good role for this team for the most part. Let's get the rest of the season done with. Actually, we want to take a look at the trades that the AI makes after this too, because I am kind of curious on that, even though this episode is running around 20 minutes already. Let's go past the trade deadline, because we've made our trades, and let's see what trades happened at the trade deadline in 2023, because I don't know if I checked this at all in my other franchise modes. I don't think so. I don't track it too often, but here's if there was any blockbuster trades, which I didn't get any notifications about, so probably not. But let's see what we got here. Reimer got sent to Vancouver. Scandell goes back to Montreal. That's funny. Armia goes to St. Louis in that trade as well. Stetcher and Eric Stahl to Calgary. Poirier in a 7th go to Arizona. Freddie Gaudreau goes to Vegas for Chaka. Udavar to the Rangers. Lavoie goes to Nashville. Zach Sanford goes to Edmonton. Sam Gagner to Boston. Fabian Lysell to Winnipeg. What the heck is Boston doing? Damn, we should have probably traded for Lysell. We could have traded probably Domi for Lysell, but it is what it is. Zari should be pretty decent. Trouba goes to Anaheim. That's a pretty big one for Strome and Kulikov. So Ryan Strome back to the Rangers. Semyon Varlamov back to Colorado for Arturi Lehkonen and some picks. John Klingberg goes to Ottawa with a 5th round pick for Josh Norris in a 4th. That is a crazy trade. So Ottawa gets that right-handed defenseman, but they give up Josh Norris in the process. Donato to Vegas. Okay. Scott Mayfield to Toronto. Shattenkirk to Edmonton. Same with Derek Rankin, Beaulieu. They gave up Bourgault, though, in that trade. Actually, quite a bit of trades. And Ryan Hartman goes to Washington with Goligoski. So those are the deadline trades. Let's simulate the rest of the season and wrap up this first season with the Blackhawks, and hopefully we end up missing the playoffs still. But yeah, very excited to see what this team's like for next season with some of the younger guys that we just traded for. Let's actually don't go best lines. But I'm curious to see what Zari's like and all that stuff. So let's go replace player on Entwistle. Because we brought in Zari, we brought in who else? Lambert, and we brought in Olsen. We brought in a lot of picks as well. So pretty decent, I'd say. Entwistle is going to go in for Jack Johnson, who was playing forward, which is kind of funny. I mean, it's not a bad experiment to try Jack Johnson as a forward. Let's go replace player on Tepley, and I need to go back because this game is not showing me the scores. We're still winning games, which I do not like. Like, why is this team trying to make the playoffs without Taze and Kane? Like, we should be tanking for that first overall pick. There's a lot of losses, though. Caleb Jones has fractured his ankle. He's out for the rest of the season. Let's just go replace player. That'll at least give like Vlasic or somebody some time, which is good. And yeah, we're losing a lot of games at the end of the season, which is great. And hopefully that helps us in the draft lottery format. And it's going to be a 34, 39, and 9 first season here with Chicago, with Tyler Johnson leading us in points with 52 points in 82 games. We were the 3rd worst team in our division. The Jets were the dead last. Interesting. Too bad we didn't trade Kane to Winnipeg, because then we could have got their 1st round pick probably, but it is what it is. Colorado's probably a playoff team with Kane, right? So Taze misses the playoffs, not a surprise. And Colorado is where? 1st in the division, not a surprise. Okay, let's take a look at these player stats for the first season. And then we'll simulate up to the awards and all that stuff as well. So Tyler Johnson led the team in points, 52 points. Dickinson had 44 points. That's actually better than I expected, but he got a lot of ice time. Kurashev, 38 points. He's going to be here still for quite a while, I think. Kyra Reichel had 17 points. That's not bad. Hopefully he continues to get some good development since he's only an 80. Lafferty and Blackwell, not that matters too much. We could have traded away Athanasiou, but I didn't have the budget to really trade him away. What else we got here? Radish hit 29 goals this year. Wasn't expecting that. Maybe we have to keep him around for quite a while. Because like in real life, he never got up to 29 goals before, so that's pretty decent. And Wilson had 18 points, which is also not bad from a bottom 6 guy. And Reese Johnson had 6 goals. Defensively, Jones and Girard led us in points, not a surprise. Sam Girard had 21 points in 47 games with us, so Pretty solid acquisition there in St. Gerard. Forgot that we even brought him in via trade in this. And there's the rest of the player stats on the defensive core. A lot of points actually from the back end. Like Ian Mitchell wasn't actually that bad offensively, but terrible defensively with McCabe. Goaltending wise, Mrazek was not terrible in terms of save percentage, but his goals against obviously was. And Stalock was absolute trash. Not a surprise though. So there is that. Let's take a look at the entire league for player stats. So the best offensive player this season was Connor McDavid with 102 points, followed by Goudreau with 93. Interesting. Best goal scorer this season. Austin Matthews only hit 45 goals, but he was the best player in terms of goal scoring. No 50 goal scorers this season. Weird. Defensively, Quinn Hughes and Victor Hedman both 77 points and very similar plus minuses, which means who is going to win the Norris, I have no idea. Best goaltender this season for wins, Cam Talbot with 40 wins for the Sens. Most shutouts, Cal Peterson. Best save percentage by starter is going to likely be Cam Talbot as well. And goals against average is going to likely be Cam Talbot as well. Looks like, or Binnington actually, yeah. So Binnington and Talbot are probably up there for the Vezina. Any goalie goals in this first season? No. Goalie assist-wise, Tristan Jarry, 5 assists. Actually, we want to take a look at the AHL as well, because I'm curious on those players that we traded for, how good they did with Rockford. So Zari, we brought him in from Calgary. 7 points in 16 games. Not bad. We also brought in Brad Lambert, who had 11 points in 35 games. Didn't get to play any games with the Manitoba Moose. He's up to a 68. What else have we got here? Olsen. He had 13 points in 38 games with us. Not bad. We'll see how good he does in the AHL playoffs, if the AHL team's even in the playoffs. And the rest of that should be good. Oh yeah, Comesso, who I made, is up to a 75 at 20. Not bad. Forgot about him. So there you go on the player stats. Let's take a look at the team stats. So in terms of the entire league, we probably were not that great. We were the 4th worst team in the entire NHL. Not bad. So we did fall back quite a bit. So we should have a top 5 pick hypothetically this season. Goals for per game wise, we were one of the worst offensive teams after we traded Kane and Taves likely. And we were one of the worst defensive teams. Only the Jets were worse. Power play percentage wise, we were 14.4%, which was not the worst, so we're actually okay on the power play, I guess. And our penalty kill was actually not that bad. So our special teams were not the worst and not our downfall this season. 1 shorthanded goal, 14, 22, and 5 on home ice, and 20, 17, and 4 on the road. 1, 7, and 2 in our last 10 games. Nice. That's a good way to tank at the end of the season. Okay, let's simulate up to those awards and find out who wins the Stanley Cup in this first season. And then we will also see where we're drafting for this upcoming draft and take a look at the draft class as well. But should be an interesting season ahead coming with the amount of young guys that could jump up. Like Olsen's getting close. I think Zari's getting close as well. But obviously we want to tank for another few years before we actually start being competitive, right? So, who is going to win the Stanley Cup in this first year? Is it going to be a weird team? Looks like our AHL team did make the playoffs, which is good. Because hopefully some of those guys get some development down there. Let's just continue without Tepley. Looks like they're going to the conference finals potentially down there. And Soderblom's been injured. Jeez. At least that gives Comesso some time. And it looks like they lost, unfortunately. And Montreal wins the Stanley Cup in year 1. So that is a really weird Stanley Cup champion. No way Montreal wins the Stanley Cup in 2022-2023. But whatever. Utica's going to win the Calder Cup, so unfortunately our AHL team falls short. But let's take a look at that playoff bracket for fun. So Montreal beat Vancouver in the Stanley Cup Finals, which is definitely not going to happen this year, especially with how Vancouver started off the season. Montreal knocked out both Toronto and Ottawa. It's kind of weird. So there's that. In AHL wise, our AHL team got to the finals, but lost in 5 games. Good, at least that our AHL team is getting some good player stats and playoffs and all that stuff. Let's take a look at who led the league in playoff points. Actually, let's take a look at the Montreal Canadiens. I'm curious on if they made any moves or something in order to win the Stanley Cup. Suzuki. Looks like they pretty much kept the same roster together. I don't know how Slavkovsky had 16 points. Yeah, they just got a lot of good depth scoring, and the roster's the exact same as it is in real life right now. No idea how they won a Stanley Cup, though. And somehow Jake Allen went God mode, too. So, there's a Stanley Cup champion winning Montreal Canadiens. Let's take those awards now. Montreal wins the Stanley Cup. Ottawa won the President's Trophy, so that's interesting. Vancouver and Montreal Stanley Cup Finals. Edmonton's Connor McDavid going to take home the Art Ross and the Hart. Victor Hedman gets the Norris, despite having less plus minus, I think it was, than Quinn Hughes. DeBrincat's going to win the Lady Byng. Shane Wright wins the Calder. Not a surprise. Mike Hoffman wins the Conn Smythe, which is kind of weird. Cam Talbot the Vezina. Philly Husso and Alex Nedeljkovic the Jennings. Sherratt the Masterton. Guite, which is the Sens coach, wins the Jack Adams. Anze Kopitar wins the Selke, and Connor McDavid the Lindsay. Austin Matthews the Richard. Interesting. Any AHL awards for our team? Does not look like it. Nope, unfortunately. Let's take a look at the draft lottery results to see where we're drafting as well as retirements. And that'll be it for this third episode, I guess. Oh, you gotta be joking me. We fall from 4 to 5, unfortunately, so we have 5th overall, which means we're not going to get Michkov or Bedard, unfortunately, in this franchise mode, unless we trade for them down the road, but who knows if that's going to happen. Winnipeg has 1st overall, followed by Philadelphia, who jumps from 11 to 2, Los Angeles, and in Arizona, and then us. So we have 5th overall, and wonder what we could get at that spot. And retirement-wise, who's going to retire in year 1? Joe Thornton, Eric Stahl, a lot of the guys that were drafted in like 2003. And before that, not a surprise. Any good goaltenders retire? Alex Stalock retires for us, so we do lose Stalock, but that's okay, because he was pretty garbage anyways, but that means we're going to have to find a new backup goalie next season, unless Comesso or Soderblom wants to be that backup. So there you go on the retirements. Looks like we did lose a coach as well, which I don't know if that's a head coach or an assistant coach or what, but we do use one coach. So that's kind of a surprise early on. Eric Stahl and Shea Weber both now scouts. And let's continue simulating. And let's take a look at this draft class and the contract situation. Progress reports, and then that'll be it for this episode. So, since we have 5th overall, looks like we might be getting this guy, Ville Peterson, which I don't think he's a real player, but I could be wrong. Looks like we could get a center sniper. If he's a sniper, I don't know if he's a sniper or not. I don't want Brandon Yeager because I think he's like a 76. But looks like we're probably going to get Pedersen, or we could end up getting Goran if Goran slides back a lot. Get a defensive prospect, or Fawcett. So one of those 3 at number 5 would be a decent. Any low leads to the pin? Looks like our scouts didn't do a good job, so we might need to find some new scouts. Holtonen, who's supposed to go 14th overall, is a gem. Interesting. But we're not have the 14th. We don't have 14th overall pick. I don't know where we have our picks. We should definitely check which picks we have for this draft in terms of the first round, because I know we have multiple first rounders. There's a low elite enforcer, and I think I have to draft that guy just because he's a low elite enforcer. We're definitely pinning him. That'd be kind of cool. Tulipov is a gem, so we'll pin him. This guy's probably not good. It's not really a whole lot of low leads, but low lead enforcer is pretty cool. So that's the draft class. Progress report wise, any good growth from those guys that we traded for, or anybody in the system? Let's go by overall. Radish is getting some statistical and natural growth. Kershev's growing. That's good to see that. Lucas Reichel growing as well. Same with Bodine, Mitchell. Olson's growth is going up a lot too. A lot of good growth actually so far. And in the system, Zari's developing well. Comesso's developing well. Tepeli. What else we got here? Nazar went up to a 73. That's good. Korchinski's growing really well. Yeah, we're getting some good growth from the younger prospects, which is definitely what this team needs. So that's always good to see. And final thing, let's take a look at the contract situation. Let's see who is up for renewal. So we have Athanasiou, who's our biggest one, but we'd probably end up having to let him go anyways. Kurashev, definitely, I would like to keep him around if possible. And then we also have like Jack Johnson, who he would probably let go of, but everybody else is a lot of RFAs, so we should be able to get most of these guys back, which is good. And then we have to definitely sign somebody that's making a lot more money to keep us better in terms of salary cap, I think. Arvid Soderblom's also up for renewal, so not too bad. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode. So in the next episode, we'll take it to the draft and re-sign stage as we look to continue to rebuild this team and hopefully get them back to their winning ways and all that type of thing. Now that we don't have Kane and Taze, hopefully this team could turn its page and just be a really good hockey team in the next 5 to 10 seasons or so. I don't know how long it's going to take to rebuild this team, but we'll see. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.